Hi, my name is Matt Carroll with World Class Coaching with the help of Academy Sports Coach 2023. I wanted to talk to you about changing formations. And where I got the idea for this um, was a book we have available on the website called Flexible Formation. It's Attacking, how RB Leipzig changes their formations from a 3-5-2 to a 5-3-2 to 3-2-2 and 2-4-3 and more, all in one game if needed, by Luca Bertolini. So I'll put this video in the comment section so you can check it out yourself, or this book into the comment section so you can check it out yourself. But I want to talk about changing formations in general. Okay, so I've started with a base 4-4-2, and I'm going to talk about these formations seem so drastically different than each other, and people are like, well, this system is a better system, this system is a better system, but really, I want to talk about a couple things that help you kind of determine your system, and a lot of it is based on your style of play and getting the difference between your system and your style of play separated but working together. So first of all, when we start off, in game, I think one of the most difficult things to do is to change formation as a coach, because you're getting all 11 players at the exact same time to make a complete shift to whatever they're doing. And if one player doesn't know what's going on, the whole thing kind of falls apart. I've had this situation where I just go, okay, guys, run out there, you're subbing in, tell him we're this, we're that. They run on there and they relay the message. The wrong kid runs off. It's difficult in the moment, especially in the younger ages, to relay information via that. Or I'll have kids run onto the field and I'll go, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and they run out. They're like, guys, we're gonna go to a 4-2-3-1, and now the opposition's like, oh, okay, well, we've lost that advantage. That we're gonna change formations and get one up on them quickly and go to it. Like, no, they know now and they're adjusting to it already. So the one thing we've done recently when changing formations is we've tuned into hand signals. We do like top of the head, call X's, whatever it may be. And each hand signal represents a formational change. Usually comes after a sub. We're changing personnel. If I'm going from a 3-back to a 4-back, I'll usually sub off a defender and move another midfielder in or something like that. But even in the middle of the game, when you have a stoppage of play, we're able to shift if we've practiced that. I think some coaches want to overcomplicate it. It's change to a 4-2-3-1. Just everyone do it. It's something that's very difficult for players to get into a system and then like change on a dime. So I like to keep it to 2 to 3 systems. Really, I have in my toolkit. Generally like a 3-4-3 or a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, and then maybe something kind of a little more exotic that we like to get into, or fits more of our style of play. And that being said, the important thing is to match your system to your style of play. You can play a counterattacking style in a 4-4-3, in a 3-4-3, in a 3-5-2, in a 4-2-3-1. You can play a possession style in all those formations. It's really about how you play it. And I would say more important than the formation you're running is the roles of the players. In a 4-4-2, you can have flat 4-4-2 here. You could have a diamond where we're playing with a 6 and an 8. That's personnel-wise. You can have it so you're playing inverted wingbacks, inverted wingers. You can have a winger that stays up high here. You can have a defender that sinks lower. And that's all still a 4-4-2. It's a 4-4-2 diamond. It's a 4-4-2 flat. Whatever it may be. But the style in which you're going to play it, as long as you're giving instructions, don't rely on the system to give the instructions. You should be giving the individual roles to your players. And I like to, instead of changing systems a little bit more, I do like to play a little bit more where I'm changing roles. So, hey, your job as a winger on this side is to stay wide, open things up. I sub on somebody else. Your job is to play a little bit more inside, cut in, and get under the striker so the striker can go. And make sure everyone knows their roles. So when we actually get into the movement of it, okay, so you want to really simplify this as much as possible. So we're in a 4-4-2 here, base set, pretty standard formation. Now I want to get to a 4-2-3-1, okay? Really what's going to be in most of these formations, what we're doing is just dropping one player and just dropping the depth of other players. So we have 2 forwards here. 4-2-3-1, all we're doing is dropping the 10 here, 9 stays high, and these 2 8s become 6s. And now we have a 4-2-3-1 out of a 4-4-2. Pretty simple change. You just need to know which striker you're going to drop, who can play the cam, and make sure the 2 8s know they're now in a 6 role, playing a center defensive mid, sitting behind there, and making sure that one of them pivots. Okay, one goes out wide, one covers the center. All right, and then double pivot in the 4-2-3-1. Okay, now this one's even easier. In the 4-2-3-1, we used to play a 4-2-3-1 and then we'd shift to a 4-3-3, and kids would it would blow their minds. All you're doing is pushing the wingers higher, and they become forwards or wide players, or however you want to define your 4-3-3. Okay. So here, what we're really working on is now changing the style. These sixes were very central sixes. They were covering the middle of the pitch. They had the wide areas recovered. Now, because of the formation we're in, okay, we're going to create more depth between these players. Okay, give them more space, and they have to cover more of the pitch. And their responsibilities are a little bit more. But it's important to understand, like, they're not moving. Okay, they're not moving in this formation. You're changing formations, but your job, like, they're still basically in the same areas, but they have to know their role within that formation in order to execute it effectively. So you're going from a straight six, who's generally covering these areas, okay, and the six on here is generally covering from here to here, okay. Now you're covering all the way out here with the other six sliding, and you have to have a defensive rotation with the 10. Is the 10 pressuring this ball? Is the 6 stepping up and the 10's dropping off? So again, more important than your formation is what style you want them to play. And then in the 4-3-3, do you want them to drop off? Okay, more and track back. Do you want them to stay high and be a counter option? That's something you're defining. So in a game, we can even go 4-2-3-1 as our base set. And when we get into the attacking formations, we can push into a 4-3-3. All right, all we're doing is saying, wingers, when we get in the attack, I want you to get high. I want you to get as high as possible. And in our shape, we're in a 4-3-3. All right. Now, you have to talk about how we're going to counter that, defensively. Where's everyone going to be? But that's all we're doing. Okay. It should be fluid. It's not so much as like, this is the base formation we are. We're foosball players, and you shouldn't really be moving a lot. But you can have both these formations and get the best out of both. Okay. Defensively, we want to sit a little deeper, right? We get into a 4-2-3-1. These guys drop off. They drop off. Okay. And we're deep. Maybe even on the goal side, we want to drop all the way back into a 5-back. We drop the other striker. Now we're into a 5-4-1 defensively. And then we want to get into a 4-3-3 in the attacking. We allow this player to get forward. We allow this player to get forward. And we make sure this player gets forward, that we have 2 6s sitting back in the cover. So in the attacking phase, we're 4-3-3. We just came from a 5-4-1 in defensive phase. And then in the transition phase, we have our wingers drop off again, and it becomes a 4-2-3-1. Okay, so that's very confusing if you're using all these different number patterns. So again, I'd say the focus here needs to be your style, okay, the roles of individual players, and talking about in the phases of the game. In the attack, you're here. We lose the ball, you're here. We just won the ball, you're here. And define those different roles within the game, the 4 different stages of the game, and make sure the signaling that you have for these different formation changes or roles is clear and communicable to the players you have. Communication is going to be key. It's always going to be chaos in the game. It's going to be the hardest thing to switch the formations. So being as clear and concise as possible, making this as simplified as possible is going to be really important for your players. Love to hear in the comments some of the things you do for how you change formations, or some of the different ways that you flip numbers, within the different stages of the game. Love to hear, again, like some funny stories about how some issues you've had with that, because I think everyone's had that. Kid comes over and you're like, what formation are we in? And they have no idea. So I'd love to hear some of those stories as well. So one more time, my name is Matt Carroll, with the help of Academy Sports Coach 2023 and World Class Coaching, and the book Flexible Formations Attacking by Luca Bertolini, which we'll have available in the comment section. I hope your next session finds you well.